Now on this side we have something similar, so I would just move the negative 9 positive to the other side. So I would have 36y squared is equal to negative 8 plus 9. Once we have that, you have that 36y squared is going to be equal to positive 1. After that, you ask yourself again the same thing as before. Is the y squared by itself? And the answer is no. So what can you do to get rid of that 36? And the answer is we're going to divide by 36, both sides. So you cancel the 36 here, having y squared is equal to 1 over 36. So after that, you are going to be like, okay, my y squared is alone, so I can use the square root property. You apply the square root property to both sides, having y is going to be equal to plus minus, remember the plus minus, okay? What is the square root of 1? You know that that's 1, and the square root of 36, you have that it's 6. Okay, so you have that your answer is plus minus 1 over 6. Okay? Now let's move on to something that it looks a little bit more challenging, okay, but it's not that bad. Okay, so you have x minus 4 and everything is squared equals 12. So in this case, what are you going to do? What I would do is, since this is alone and it's the quadratic piece, I would take the square root to both sides, having x minus 4 is going to be equal to plus minus the square root of 12. Okay? So when you do that, you have two options. Either you leave it like that, okay, and you move the 4 to the other side, okay, or you can simplify, okay? So you have options there, okay? So if I plug that as a decimal, what I would do is plus minus, okay, and I would put a decimal, because you know that it's not exact, and I'm going to put that it's going to be, oh no, I don't want that. It's going to be the square root of 12, okay? So the square root of 12, you know that it's going to be 3.464, okay? So I would write plus minus 3.464, okay? And then what I would do here, you would have two options. X is equal, move the 4 to the other side, so it's 4 plus minus 3.464. So your two answers are going to be, okay, first it would be 4 plus that number, okay, which is, the first one, it gave me 7.464. And the second one, it would be 4 minus that number that you have here, okay, and then I have that is 0.535, okay. So when I put my answer here in decimal form, I would have two answers, 7.464 and 0.535. Okay, and that would be your answer. Okay, you have two answers, which makes sense. One is the positive and one is the negative, with the plus minus. Okay, similarly here, what are we going to do? You realize, okay, my quadratic term is not alone, so I need to move this 3 to the other side, having x minus 8 squared is equal to 24 minus 3. Okay, so after that, you have that it's going to be x minus 8 squared is going to be equal to 24. Okay, at this point, you are like, okay, this thing that it's square is by itself, so I can just apply the square root property both sides. So you have that x minus 8 is going to be equal to plus minus the square root of 24. Okay, so here what I would do, I would compute the square root of 24, so you have x minus 8 is equal to plus minus, please remember that it's plus minus, and I would do the square root of 24, and that one, it gave me 4.898. okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 8 to the other side. Okay, so I have x is equal to 8 plus minus 4.898. So you have two options. Okay, so when you do 8 plus that number, okay, you have that is 12.899, and the second one is 8 minus that number, and you have that is 3.101. okay, so your two solutions, I write them around the squiggly lines, so you have that it's going to be 12.899 and 3.101. Okay, and those are your solutions, okay, for this case. Now for the other one that we have over here, that it's kind of different, what you need to do is you're like, okay, let's read it together. 3b squared plus 7 equals negative 33. Okay, so I realized, okay, the variable is here, but I need to get rid of two things, the 3 and the 7. Okay, using PEMDAS backwards, you know that we need to move that 7 to the other side first. So you have 3b squared is equal to negative 33 minus 7. With that, you have that it's going to be 3b squared is going to be equal to negative 40. Okay, so once you have that, you are going to divide both sides by 3 because you want to get rid of that 3 to leave the b squared by itself, canceling this. So you have b squared is equal to negative 40 divided by 3. After that, what you need to do is you need to take the square root to both sides. Okay, be careful with this side because you have a negative, so you know that you are going to have the I there. Okay, so my recommendation is put the b plus minus. Okay, so you know that you are going to have an I, but that square root is not user friendly, so I'm going to plug it in the calculator. Okay, so you have the square root. What I do for the fractions, I do control division, and then I put 40 divided by, it was 3, right? Okay, 3 without the negative because I already know that the negative is the I, and I have that it's 3.651. okay, so I use 3 decimal places and I have 3.651 and the I. Okay, so your answer is going to be plus minus 3.651I. Okay, and that's your answer. Okay, otherwise it becomes very, very complicated. Please remember that this one has the I. Without the I will not be correct because you are not taking in account that you have that negative in front. Okay, so let's move on to number 10. Okay, so number 10 here is quite similar to 9. What you need to do first is you need to move the 20 to the other side, having 4b squared is equal to negative 65 plus 20. Okay, so you have that it's going to be 4b squared equals and negative 45. Okay, after that you are going to divide by 4 both sides, so you can leave the b squared by itself, having b squared equals to negative 45 divided by 4. Okay, at this point you realize that the b squared is by itself, so we take the square root both sides, having b equals, and you know that it's going to be plus minus. Okay, I will already take out the I, and then you know that it's going to be the square root of 45 divided by 4. This one, okay, I would just plug it in the calculator. Okay, so you have that b is going to be equal, and let's plug it here in the calculator, so you know that it's going to be the square root of a fraction, so you have fraction 45 divided by 4. Okay, and you know that it's going to be plus minus 3.354I. Okay, so quite simple. You know that your answer is going to be plus minus 3.354I. Okay, and that's your answer.